Good morning, Anambra, right here on ABS TV. And this morning, our topic under discussion is conscience, the necessary substance for national development. And this is as a result of today, because we are commemorating the 2023 International Day for Conscience. Of course, this International Day of Conscience is a global day of awareness that is being celebrated yearly, and it is established by the United Nations General Assembly on July 25th, 2019, with the adoption of UN resolution. So you see how important that they saw that everyone needs to have, a good conscience for us to have an even development in our different societies. All right, my name is Chidima Oranwa, and of course, I have Ajulochukwu Okawe with me in the studio this morning.
Good morning. Good morning, viewers at home. Well, let us talk on conscience and definitely get to know how much it affects our development. Thank you.
All right, our guest this morning is Reverend Emmanuel Ogbuefi. He is a resident priest for the New Jerusalem Anglican Church, Ngozika Estate, Phase 2, Oka. This is from the Diocese of Oka Anglican Communion. Glad to have you on the show this morning.
Glad to be here with you also. Good morning and thank you.
Okay, so you've seen the topic we are exploring this morning, conscience, the necessary substance for national development. First of all, we would like to come with a definition of what conscience is. We would like us to talk about it, because to so many people it might mean so many things to them. And coming from a cleric like you, I want you to give us a better definition.
Okay, I try to look at that word conscience from the latest edition of the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. And he said that it's a sense or consciousness of the moral goodness or blameworthiness of one's own conduct, intentions or character, together with a feeling of obligation to do right or be good. Now, this is the dictionary definition of that. But then, conscience is something that God put in every man to differentiate between right and wrong. Of course, there is this latent, small, still voice in each and every one of us, that each time we want to do something that is right, it will tell you that this is right. And anytime I want to do something that is wrong, it will ring an alarm that this is wrong. So that consciousness, that ability to be able to differentiate between right and wrong, and then be able to do it, because this feeling of knowing and then doing, that is our own understanding of what conscience is all about. Your ability to know this is right and this is wrong, and then pursue the right, doing what you feel that is right, what you know that is right.
But in a situation whereby a lot of people know that, this is right, this is wrong, but they go about doing what is wrong, how do we reconcile it?
That is another issue, because this is the time where it's a generation whereby people know the right thing, but they don't do it. That's when you see somebody, for instance, you just get a gun and shoot somebody and go about his business. It doesn't concern him. That's when that small still voice we call conscience has been numbed. Of course, if a finger is numb, whatever you are doing now will not affect it. Whatever that, if you try to use pin on it, try to pierce pin on a numb finger, it's not going to, the person will not feel any sensitivity, because the thing has been numbed. If you look at even the word of God that says in 1 Timothy chapter 4, 1 and 2, he said that these people's conscience has been sealed with a hot iron. In a situation whereby somebody is doing anything and he doesn't feel that thing is wrong, or doesn't feel that thing affect anybody negatively, go about do what he want to do. That's when the person's conscience has been seared with hot iron, and people can do anything, get away with it, without even feeling a sense of right or wrong in them. That is another issue altogether. It's another problem altogether. But what we are talking about is this consciousness in us that tells us that this one is right, that small still voice that tells us this one is wrong. We can abandon what is wrong and then pursue what is right.
So if conscience is all about, yielding us to doing right, you understand, is there the provision of the punishment one might definitely warrant or incur if he doesn't do the right thing. Because to every right doing, there should be a compensation. And to every wrongdoing, there should equally be a retribution. So how do you balance this based on the fact that you said, the Bible said in Timothy that there were people that God said that their conscience has been sealed with hot iron?
Of course, for every action there is a repercussion, whether it's positive or negative. For every good one does, there is a reward, just like you have noted. And for every evil, there is also a punishment. Of course, you know that the word of God is always true. When we obey the word of God, there is reward for obedience. The word of God said that we shall eat the fruit of the land when we obey. But of course, you know, when we disobey, there is punishment for disobedience. And the punishment for disobedience is in diverse ways. God knows how to punish people that disobey his word. I'm not here to tell you how God punishes, because there are many times that God punishes and you don't even know the way God is punishing. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So there are rewards for doing right. There are also punishments. And these rewards can be in any way. It can be any form. What you tag blessing may not be what I tag blessing. What we tag as a punishment, people may not even know that that one is punishment. But as long as God is God has his own way of rewarding and also punishing.
So based on the topic that you're talking about, the conscience, the necessary substance for national development, how can you align that to moral teachings and religious teachings in our modern day society? Because we seem to have gotten it totally wrong when it has to do with doing the right thing and then knowing the repercussion for doing the wrong thing.
Okay, I'm so happy with this year's topic as we are commemorating that 2023 Day of International Day of Conscience.
Yes.
I pray, and it's my earnest, deliberate prayer, that the society we are in is a society that seems as if we have lost this conscience. Anybody can do what he wants to do and get away with it, seemingly getting away with it. It's a society that we are in that is almost deteriorating and is fast on that lane. People can think what they want to think. People can go about to do what they want to do. And it has brought the society to a serious mess. We're in a deep mess. Because people are no more guided by this small still voice. I call that conscious small still voice. When you know that something you are doing is wrong and you go about to do it, that means the consequence. After all, nobody, it looks as if nobody can question you, nobody can confront you. People don't do anything and they get away with it. And that is the society we are in now. And it's affecting everybody. Look at our society. Look at our country, Nigeria. You see, that's result to insecurity. That result to everything negative you can think about. Because people are no more guided by this musty voice. It's an alarm that once you want to commit something that is, you don't even need anybody to follow you about. You don't need anybody to monitor you. That voice, that musty voice, has been numbed in diverse ways, and it is affecting us. And I pray that we can be waking up to this reality, because if we continue the way we are going, I don't think is something that will help every one of us, including you and I.
Okay, we'll continue with our discussion, but we are going to take a street walk now. Let's get people's opinion on the topic under discourse this morning.
The mother is the first teacher. So, through first-based education, she can imbibe that good conscience she will pass on to the child. Our traditional institution, there are certain things we have missed in times past. For example, when we were kids, what we used to have night stories, telling us stories, fables, folk tales that inculcates morals into us.
Good conscience is what is lacking in our society, both people in public offices and individuals. If we have good conscience, it will reduce the issue of both mismanagement of funds in public places. You're going to think about the future of the nation, and that will reduce your habit of mismanagement of funds, racketeering and everything that is in government. I believe that good conscience will reduce fraud in our society. We'll talk about the Yahoo menace and everything. These are lack of conscience. Because when you have a good conscience, you will know that the person you want to scam is a human being like you. And that it will affect the person in one way or the other.
It will affect whatever it is you pledge to them in your manifesto. Because if you actually care about them, your conscience, if you have a conscience, you would understand that these people need this. That is why they entrusted their future into my hands. And I have to do the best I can to help them, to not disappoint them. Because if I do, I won't be able to sleep well at night. Because my conscience will actually keep me up.
When someone has a human sympathy, it will help in whatever the person is doing, whether individually, for the community, and for the society at large. I, as a person, I have a conscience. I wouldn't want to hurt my fellow human being. I would first of all put it into consideration if my actions will make the person sad or will lead the person to depression or even to commit suicide. So anyone who has conscience will think before he or she acts.
Good conscience has a role to play, because if we discover most of the problem we have in the country now has to do with the kind of people we have in leadership positions. And for us to achieve anything meaningful, it has to start from those in leadership positions. And conscience has a major role to play. Now, if you're talking about conscience, you're talking about how we carry out our daily activities. For instance, if we are in positions of authority, be it elective positions, be it appointments, conscience is fundamental. Because if you have good conscience, there are certain things you will not do. You will not subscribe to impunity. You will not subscribe to underhand dealings. You will not subscribe to fraud. You will not subscribe to any form of intimidation in the office. So good conscience is very fundamental, not just in national conscience, but in our professional activities, the way we even attend to visitors that come to us.
All right, you're welcome back to the show, and we've been joined by another guest right here in the studio this morning, Chike Weber. Chike Weber is a public affairs analyst. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we've been talking about conscience, the necessary substance for national development. And from all our respondents that are outside there, the people we interviewed before the show, that we are talking about that still inner voice that is supposed to tell you when to do the right thing and when to know that what you are doing is right and what you are doing is wrong. Some people mentioned a whole lot of ills we are facing in our society, talking about kidnapping, talking about defrauding people to collect what is theirs fraudulently, in a fraudulent manner. Now, my question is, if we have all this at the back of our mind and we know that these things are bad, these are wrong, why then do we keep having the kind of atrocities that are being committed in our nation? Why then do we still have people doing the wrong thing all the time, but knowing fully well that what they are doing is wrong and what they are doing could hamper the development of any given society?
Thank you very much. This is actually addressing the core principalities and other terrible things that have held us down in this society. Because if we look at it, if we want to take the academic line with what is the conscience, what it is, people see it as a moral sense of what is right or what wrong. But basically they are trying to fine-tune it to say that it's the moral back in us that determines our capacity to do what is right or what wrong. Because it's inside us. And why do people do things wrongly or rightly? They do it because there are no consequences. And that is why if you go to societies where people behave anyhow, it simply means that that society is a failed society. And failure starts from the head. So it's still the same leadership issues that we are confronting with. But because we are at the receiving end, if the government is doing things that are right, that everybody considers them what? Right. You will see that naturally the followers, that's those of us that they are leading, will do what? Key in. But in a place like Nigeria today, there is absolute trust deficit. I just heard somebody talking about even in the civil service. I don't know about I know that you people keep to time and everything, so you do things right here. So which means that your leadership must be something that also conforms with this issue we are saying. So in effect, conscience is the inner heart reaction to a lot of environmental factors. If the environment is conducive, things are working properly, it is bound to affect the way people react on situations. So let us not just begin to see the downstream end of what has already been spoiled on the upstream as a measure of how deformed our society is. Once we get good leadership, and we start from the brass tacks, leadership also means family. In the family, I know where I come from. I know the things you can do. All of us know how we came about. Those things, if you are conditioned properly from the home, you are not likely to be, what they call a social deviant, to society. So let me just stop my own brief introduction.
Reverend Emmanuel, based on what Chike has said, then how can one alienate himself from the encapsulation of the society and then stand out? Because we still have where people are born from notorious families and they still want to stand out. Is it that they choose on themselves to allow, not to allow the family issues to probably overweigh them and then set things right? How can you, maybe as a clergyman, differentiate you standing out even amidst a terrible society that you probably are from?
Okay, thank you for that. I am so overwhelmed with what my colleague just started talking about. And to reconcile that with your question, the place of the church in the society is indispensable, because the church, being the custodian of the Word of God, will have a serious role to play in awakening people's conscience. That's where the Word of God comes in. That's where preaching comes in. Where many times, let me also say this now, there are people that do what they are doing, and they are not even aware that what they are doing is wrong. But when we come to the legal aspect of it, even ignorance is not an excuse. That you are ignorant of a fact that this is wrong does not exonerate you from the consequences of your action. But then when we clergy, the church comes in to awaken people's conscience. Excuse me, sir, what you are doing is wrong. And having that moral, I don't know how to put it, but that grace to be able to confront people, no matter who the person is. whether you are the leader, whether whatever portfolio you think you are carrying, we can tell you that, excuse me, sir, this is wrong. This is not good. For the betterment of our society, for the future of our children, this thing you are doing is wrong. No matter whose ox is going, it's not your problem. That's the charge that we want to use to actually awaken people from this conscious.
So use it to build and also establish what we call national development. I mean, develop our nation in such a way that, I mean, you know the right thing, you do it at the right time, and then you know that even that thing you do will impact positively in the lives of your neighbors, in the lives of your children and people around you.
Thank you very much. Let me just start by just telling you that this conscience is not a commodity. It is indwelling in us. And I'm just very happy that we have a priest here. If you read the Bible, I didn't want to go that way, but I think we should.
Okay.
We should be getting the fundamentals right, so that when we are looking at the other technical or other social impact of what we are discussing, we now know why. I mean, fundamentally, you know, he said that it is for the church to conscientize the society. Fantastic, yes. But is the church doing it properly? That is another question. You are also asking about the ills of the society. Very nice. But what are the examples that the people that are leading us are setting? So you now see that we need to rewind a little bit back and begin to say, why has society gotten so deformed or become so dysfunctional? It's because people with good conscience are not in a position to do what? To lead. If you look at every society that has developed strength.
Well, let me interject you a little bit. Is it people or the system? Because somehow you need to talk about the system. Because people will come and go, but the system still remains.
No. It is good people that will set up the system. That is why they are talking about the institutions. For example, the constitution of any country is like our own
Bible.
Secular Bible for leading our life in our society. True or false? Yes. So, but when you go and look at the people that have made this constitution, they created a lot of loopholes in the constitution. This is because they were not people of good conscience. If you go to where you have people of good conscience that are setting up the constitution, you will find out that the people that the constitution are meant for have no option than to do what? To live in a very certain guided way. Because as I said before, conscience is a moral bank, or is a sense of knowing what is right or this thing. Yeah. And that is what guides what? Behavior. I don't really know where to, I always, as the work I do, I tell people, let's look at the fundamentals. Because if we get it right, we just be, it's like somebody who has some very serious internal this thing, and always having headache. Every time you go, they treat the headache, and the real disease is there. I think, like I said, if we get the right people to be leading us as leaders, both in the home, in the schools, in the offices, and even in the marketplace, or even wherever we are, you will see that gradually the society will gradually be panel beaten into being on itself, determine what is always right at any given situation to do, and what is wrong at any given station, at any given situation. So if you look at societies that have realized this, you see that they are driven by three major factors, which is values. They have shared values. And you know, when we talk about values, they are all part of what we are saying. They also have processes, that is patterns of communication and leadership that enables those values to be transmitted, you know, to the people. and then they also have resources. In Africa, because of bad leadership, everybody is basically poor. So it becomes a survival of what?
The fittest.
So when people are in a situation of animal farm, how do you expect them to have conscience?
So, Reverend, I don't know how to put this, but being a clergyman, do you think stiff punishment for people that act without conscience will definitely put our society on the right track of things?
I would like you to help me with your understanding of stiff punishment. Like, give an example.
Stiff punishment is, let me just say, you drive on a one-way and you pay fine, or you get your vehicle impounded. You understand? I'm not talking about an eye for an eye like it was.
Okay. Because I want to understand that was stiff punishment.
Yeah, stiff punishment. You do something that is wrong, immediately you're being punished for it, so that it will serve as a deterrent, so that you don't do that again. As a clergyman, I probably believe that you might frown at that, but let's have your take on that.
I don't want to come to this point where we see punishment and reward on the liberal side of. There's a liberal where people are free to, just like he noted, where people do what they want to do, and then there is no consequence for that. I'll give an instance. There was a day where I saw somebody that parked wrongly, and the people impounded the vehicle. And the man said, I didn't know that this place, you don't park anyhow. I said, but that is not an excuse. Okay, we have to get to the office so that we settle this. Subsequently, when you want to park, you know very well that this thing, where you want to park, whether it's right to park there or wrong. But then, for me to be able to come to this point where people get punished for what they do and then get rewarded. I'm a teacher too. In a situation whereby you have a student who do wrong, who misbehave, we punish. What's the essence of punishment? To correct character. You say, please, Emeka, this thing you've just done is wrong. That's why I'm flogging you. That's why you have to dig a pit. That's why you have to go out and serve punishment, so that tomorrow you will not repeat it. Then, here is another student that have just done well. You say, oh, for doing well, I'm going to get this for you. We also reward to encourage behavior. Because a system where we really punish is a system that, people, I don't know how we live in that system, but I also want us to balance it, so that when we punish, we also remember to also encourage in form of reward. So of course, you know that every action, there is always a consequence for that.
All right.
And in a society where people are free to do anything, I can just get a knife, cut off your head, and nothing will be done about it.
Okay.
What kind of society is that?
All right, just as we are rounding up, Chike, just like you said that the system is already bad and we need the right people to reset our system.
Reboot.
Okay, reboot our system. But then again, we need to rekindle this right consciousness or conscience in our people. How do we do that? Starting from our families. Because if it begins from you and I think it will go far enough to, spread in our society. So how do we start inculcating that from our families, the church, and then to the larger society?
Okay, so you will now begin to look at what are those factors that drive good conscience. And you can help us in this matter when I finish. If you go to the Bible, as you are trying to advance your spiritual growth, you will ask, what are those, let me use the normal word, that dividend of good what? Spirit. Is it not honesty, truthfulness, compassion? I think it's in Colossians or
yes,
Colossians. You can also read it for this thing. So for us to begin to get our people to be modeled towards acquiring that good conscience, it has to start from the family. It has to start from the schools. it has to also start from the church. The church has, why I am a little bit sensitive about the church is that not everybody, even the people who preach, believe in the things that are in the books. So, but if we begin to conscientize our people with those kind of spirit that we have in us, that will enable us have what we now call good word conscience. Because if you have good conscience, you cannot break the law.
Sure.
If you see red light, you stop. But in this country today, if you stop at the red light, even though they have seen law enforcement agencies, somebody will be there waiting for you to go. And when he will just cost you. So you begin to see that our society has been, that's why I use the word, has been so perverted. So we have to start from the basics. And I always want to tell, don't be in a hurry to do anything if you don't understand the fundamentals that drive those things you are doing. So you have to start from the home.
Okay, sadly, this is where we are bringing this particular discussion to an end. I think we'll need another day for us to, dissect this topic very well. But we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us this morning. Chike Nwegbe, Public Affairs Analyst, thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Dalo.
And speaking to our conscience. And also, we have Reverend Emmanuel Obuefi, resident priest, the New Jerusalem Anglican Church, Ngozika Estate. 2 Phase 2. Okay, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's it on this particular topic, conscience, the necessary substance for national development. We are taking a short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.